figures. Resource. actionfiguresresource.com.
This is a top 10 He-Man and the Masters of the Universe figure countdown for Action Figure Resource. For this one, which is going to be particularly tricky as I've had so many favourites over the years, I will be drawing from all 6 lines that have run over more than 3 decades since the inception of this recurring series, all of which I have collected in some capacity. The exception to this is She-Ra, Princess of Power. The cartoon and characters get representation, but through other lines than the girl-focused dolls, the inclusion of which would be both tokenistic and disingenuous, as by today's standards they are a bit rubbish. At 10 from the original Masters of the Universe line, which ran from 1982 to 1988, we have Stinkor, the evil master of odors. On paper he was simply Merman's head with Mechanex's breastplate sporting a shield that came with Castle Grayskull and painted to look like a giant bipedal skunk. However, in reality this guy is a perfect example of the crazy action features that were dreamed up for this line. Instead of a water squirt or a thunder punch, this guy had strongly scented patchouli oil mixed in with the rubber that formed his head, which meant that the toy itself stank. It also made the other toys it was stored with smell rather ripe too, lending a real-world meta-threat to this fearsome fart joke. And now I need to take a tomato juice bath. At 9, since the evil horde in She-Ra, Princess of Power could scare off Mattel's target demographic, Grislaw here was released under the original Masters of the Universe banner. He has gorgeously thick and long fur and resembles, if anything, an oversized carnivorous hedgehog. At 8, also from Princess of Power, but here given fabulous and far more accurate new life with the Masters of the Universe Classics line, is Swiftwind. Now boys may immediately blanch at the idea of something so patently girly, but seriously guys, a Pegasus that's also a unicorn. If you have this, the ladies will be queuing up at your door. At 7, the original okay figure of Whiplash from the Motu line with his big rubber tail received an amazing overhaul for the 21st century, redesigned and sculpted by the Four Horsemen. I also like the Classics version with its interchangeable heads to give you the flavour of either incarnation, but there's something about how much the 2000X version carves out its own identity that makes it an impressive standout of this line. At 6, from the same 2000X line comes another major step up from the original. The first Trapjaw had a weedy, silly little interchangeable arm. The newer version is a hulking, cybernetically enhanced nightmare that even the new Classics version cannot match for sheer badassery. There's just something so oversized and brutal about the proportions of this bionic claw and hook and cannon that make you want to get as far away from him as possible. At 5, from the 2008 Classics line, one of the first figures ever made in this universe, so overflowing with masters. Beastman was a statement of intent for both lines, new and old. In contrast to the Trapjaw figure, I think they overdid it in 2002 and made him too hulking and hunched. Too much beast, not enough man. The Classics version captures absolutely everything we remember about the original and polishes each aspect and detail up to today's standards. At 4, the first of the NECA Stactions, which are high on my list. These came out between 2005 and 2007 when Mattel had decided not to make any more toys aimed at today's kids, a measure they still haven't changed their minds on at the time of writing. NECA got the license and for 2 years were able to recreate the characters that had not yet had action figures made for them, and they were targeted at adult collectors. Consequently, because they didn't need to be used for play, their limbs didn't move and they had no action features, and they were a slightly larger scale than the Mattel 2000X line. But boy howdy did these things have sculpts to write home about. Clean, lovingly etched lines, determined faces, intricate weapons, and non-removable accessories. As their name suggests, they were action statues, and Hordak here was going to be the main antagonist in the 3rd season of the cartoon. Far more imposing than his 1985 original, and even in fact outstripping the slightly pudgy Classics version with his wiry, muscular and threatening frame, he stands as the epitome of conquering evil. At 3 we have a three-way tie for the best He-Man figure. The New Adventures version recreated here in classic form and showing how a feeble and disappointing reincarnation can be made awesome somehow. The entirely wonderful Power of Grayskull Staction from NECA, rendering the hero we all remember with a 2002 styling on the hair and costume, but the original power sword held aloft in his most famous pose. Just a wonderful blending of old and new into a near perfect image. And finally, for obscure fan treatment, the Classics line actually went ahead and made a version of the fabled Wonder Bread promotional giveaway figure, complete with black Zodak armor and a loaf of bread. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Wondar. At 2, the only female on this list, principally because most of them are less impressive in figure terms than the crazy males. However, the NECA staction of the Sorceress here goes far beyond the often pretty safe figure sculpts of the girls and reaches heights of majesty and magic that few others in this line can manage. This redesign eschews the Battle of the Planet style bird costume in favour of an Egyptian goddess literally rising up on her falcon wings and accompanied by Zor. You may feel the compulsion to kneel before her. Go with the feeling. And at number 1, this came as some surprise to me as his character is so minor he didn't even turn up in the 2002 cartoon or toy series. It's possibly because of that the Four Horsemen went quite so crazy with his redesign. Jitsu from the original Masters of the Universe line was an uncomfortable Asian stereotype with a golden hand and a karate chop action. What we have here is a barbarian lord to make Genghis Khan run for the hills, complete with some of the most intricate, beautiful detail and styling on any figure I've ever yet encountered, and an exaggeratedly massive gauntlet. This guy was such a favourite of mine that when I first started reading Game of Thrones and Khal Drogo was described, this is who I thought of. In a single word, this mini statue is exquisite. So what do you think? Everyone's going to have their top 10s, and making them will probably be just as hard, because we have so many incredible historical figures to choose from. Put your lists in the comments and let us know which other top 10s you'd like to see. And finally, special mention must go to the full-size statue of Skeletor, whom I think sums up the Lord of Destruction better than any figure in the small scale. I've been Alex Shaw, and this is Action Figure Resource.
And the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Action Figures Resource ActionFiguresResource.com